Tehillim, chapter 20 and chapter 150. I'm not saying Mizmor Ladabi Yancha Dino Biyam Sarah Isagab Hashem Yaakov Isha Chazar Karmin Kaidish Mitzian Isadaka Iskar Kom Chasacha Bailas Kaidash Nasela Ten Chachel Rachav Chalat Saschay Malay Nabishko Sacha Shem Alin Girl Mali Aline Kom Shali Sacha Ati Yadati Ishia Name Shicha Name Mishmekat Shebiguray Sisha Yeminai Ela Baracha Ela Basus and Nachnu Bishain Nail Naskir came a car going to follow when Achnu Kamnu and Isaida and Ayeshia Malach Kanein Biyam Kareno and chapter 150 Hallelujah Hallelujah Bakachai Hallelujah Bekia Uzai Hallelujah Begraisav Hallelujah Karev Gudlai Hallelujah Seka Shaifer Hallelujah Nebel Chinar Hallelujah Sefer Macha Hallelujah Bemina Bugav Hallelujah Betzils Leshama Hallelujah Betzils Leserua Kol Anashama Ta'alel Yah Hallelujah. And you have in front of you some points given in the pushka staka. Pass around the staka, please. Which gives the staka merit of Eretz Yisrael. And when's a big birthday? Today or tomorrow? Yeah. Today, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. The youngest member of our group is having a birthday, turning 1 year younger today. Baruch Hashem. We should have a year of health, and we should all celebrate. Tonight's going to be a Fabrengen. Tonight's going to be Fabrengen over here for Tes-Yud Kislev.
And what kind of food?
And your birthday.
Yeah, what kind of food are they going to be having here?
That you have to ask Rabbi Karp.
But I mean, she said, how do they eat special food? What would it be?
I'm sure it will be very good food tonight. But we're all celebrating your birthday tonight as well. And 8:30 tonight over here in B'nai Emunah. A very happy, healthy year. Last year we celebrated your birthday with you, and last year you finished a project of translating one of the longest Maimarim, maybe the longest Maimar of the Rebbe. Last year you finished this translation, right? V'shavti v'shalom, and Mir Hashem should have many, many, many more healthy, happy birthdays. Yeah. Check the bag. There's a white bag somewhere. Right under the coat, I think there's a white bag. Okay, we're holding here in the Gemara in Mesechta Megillah Daf Chaf Amud Aleph. We're going to discuss which mitzvahs are allowed to be done by day, which mitzvahs can be done by day and night, and mitzvahs which can only be done by day. And in daytime itself, there's different times of day. There is what's called Aloisa Shachar, which is when it begins to get light. And then there's Neitz Hachama, sunrise. From the Torah, the day starts sunrise, goes to sunset. And Midrabanan, from the sages, it goes from when it begins to get light, even before the sun comes up. It's called the morning Amud HaShachar, morning star. All right, so, and just for today, these manim that we're going to work on for today, as a way of example, will be the ones for Pittsburgh, where Amud HaShachar, Alois HaShachar, means the same thing, was 5:43 a.m., sunrise is 7:14 a.m. You have a difference of about an hour and a half between these two.
What can you put on your tefillin?
What time can you put on tefillin? It's called Misha Yakir. Between those two times, when it gets light enough, you could tell differences between colors, between blue and off, Chelas Akarti, or if you could see your friend from 4 amas away, about 6 feet away, and you can make out their features, and they don't look all the same.
Without street lights, right?
Yeah, without street lights. A lot of things are a lot different today with light street lights. You know, halacha, they can only shecht. What? Many halachas are different today. You can only shecht, do shechita by day, right? Slaughtering kosher animals can only be done by day. Nowadays, you can do it by night because we have proper lighting. All right. And now it's sometimes done 24 hours around the clock, you know, in some of the commercial places. Many other halachas, which at one point were only done by daytime, could also be done by night. Rabbanim looking at certain maris could also be done by night in certain situations, etc. However, there are certain mitzvahs which can only be done by day. Our Mishnah listed off a whole bunch of them. First one we listed off was reading the Megillah has to only be done by day. Second one was everyone who goes to mikvah has to be go only by day. Only exception is a nida who goes to the mikvah at night. And nowadays, all women go to the mikvah at night because they take the certain chumras, stringencies of Reb Zera. But everyone else who goes to the mikvah to become tar, to become pure, only goes by day. Then we could sprinkle the ashes of the red heifer, the para aduma, to make someone pure only by day.
I think it's heifer.
Red heifer. And another type of tumah called the shemeres yom keneged yom, a woman who has to go to mikvah, keep one day of tumah and become pure afterwards, is only during the day. When it means during the day, all of them start after the time of Netzachama, sunrise. If they did it after Aloisa Shachar, after the morning star, after it starts to get light, it is kosher. It is okay. All of these things are okay. Talis and tefillin could be put on, although it's only being put on by day, not by night. They can be done even before the time of sunrise, because we have to daven wearing your talis and tefillin. So you have to be able to put on your talis tefillin before you daven, and therefore davening starts at Netzachama, Shemina Esrei, could be done by sunrise, and therefore you could put on your talis and tefillin even earlier. And the condition is, or the isam, when you could see it, you could see the color of the blue, which is when it gets light enough at about 6:20, which is, about 40 minutes after the beginning of the Aloisa Shachar. 20A2. Right. So now the Gemara is going to go through these cases of the Mishnah and bring the source, how all mitzvahs like this have to be done only by day.
Definitely.
So that's Brichas Hamazon. Says the Gemara. No, it's probably Al Mechia.
Yeah, sugar.
Yes, it's Al Mechia. If you eat enough of it, you eat a whole cake, probably it's Brichas Hamazon. Especially it's full of air. So ask the Gemara Minalan. What is the source? Where is a scriptural source that one must read the Megillah only during the day? Says the Gemara. Says Vayamim ha'ela niskarim v'nasimik. It quotes the Megillah, and these days were remembered and kept for all time. It says Hayamim, these days. It doesn't say, and this holiday, the Chagaza, it says these days, meaning that you have to read the Megillah by day. Niskarim means mentioning. When do we mention the miracle of Purim? By day. So Niskarim v'nasim is only by day. By Yom in, Balayla loy. It comes out that by day you must read the Megillah, and by night you should not read the Megillah. Because he said, Hayamim. Hey, didn't we just say before? On Daf Dalet Amud Beis, we quoted about 12 teachings in a row of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. And Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said, Leimi tehevet yufta, perhaps we can conclusively refute the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, the Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, Chayav Adam likras es hamegillah balayla v'lishan noisa bayom. A person is obligated to read the Megillah by night and to repeat it again during the day. So perhaps this can be a definitive proof to refute Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, which says that one must read the Megillah by night and by day. And he brought a pasuk that we say every single night by Ma'ariv, Yomi Nisava Hashem Chastai, Uvalayla Shir Imi. By day Hashem makes kindness, and by night I will sing his praise. So we have to sing, we have to say the Megillah also by night.
Wait a minute, actually, King David said, because you were quoting King David, right?
That's from Tehillim, yes, it is quoting David HaMelech, correct.
And so actually, that's what King David did, because he played the harp, we're singing to Hashem at night.
Correct. All right, if you want to just see it inside over here. that one must read the Megillah. Yeshua ben Levi says person is obligated to read the Megillah by night and repeat it by day, as it says, my God, I call you by day, you do not answer, and night there is no ceasing for me, I do not stop, meaning the Megillah must be read by day and by night. And Rebbe Chelba in the name of Ula says, again we have to read the Megillah by night, because it says, I shall sing to you and not be silent. I will constantly, forever, sing for you praises to Hashem. So a person must read the Megillah by day and by night. It refers to the miracle of Purim. Is I will sing to you, my soul might sing to you, refers to the Megillah by day. V'layidim should not be stilled. When people are usually still, it's going by night. And that's why there's a double terminology. From the fact that our Mishnah says the Megillah must be read by day, is this refuting Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who says that the Megillah is read by night and by day? Answers the Gemara, Kikani Kikatani Adiyam. When the Mishnah over here teaches the Megillah must be read during the day, is referring to the daytime reading. That the daytime reading has to be done by day, and preferably only after Neitzachama, after sunrise. However, if it's done by after the morning star, after the early Zman, you're still Yotze, you still have fulfilled your obligation.
Where's this Mishnah?
20a, 28.2.
28.2. Okay.
Yeah.
It's recording a Mishnah.
The Goinim say, from this Gemara comes out a very unique perspective, that in the times of the Mishnah, they only read the Megillah by day. They did not read it by night. And that also fits with the entire beginning of the Mesechta, because we're speaking about the people from the small villages. They have to come here to this. They could hear the Megillah early on the 11th, 12th, or 13th of Adar, because they could hear it on the Monday or Thursday before. Now, if they're hearing the Megillah by night, they already heard the Megillah. What do you have to make them come to hear the Megillah extra early? So from there, they bring a proof that in the times of the Mishnah, and perhaps also in the times of the Gemara even, they only read the Megillah by day, and by night was an extra thing. It only became widespread, they say, during the times of the Goinim. Why can Shema be said even before sunrise? Right? Shema can be said from 6:21 a.m. Why can't Shema be said earlier? If it's a daytime mitzvah, like we said yesterday, you could even say Kriya Shema by night. If you didn't say it by night, you could read it. You could say it even after Alois, after it starts to get light outside, before sunrise, and definitely before Misha Yaker. Saying Shema has to do with when you lie down and when you wake up. And many people go to sleep late, even back then, and they wake up late. And they will not wake up at Alois HaShachar, rather they will wake up at Neitzachama. Instead of waking up at 5:43 a.m., they wake up at 7:14 a.m.
So we're dealing actually with actually a current contradiction as far as our Mishnah, but then we say actually that our Mishnah is getting into the exact definition of what is the day for Megillah then, right?
Right. So the question is if it's Megillah, the obligation only came about later by night, but by day is a main obligation for Mordechai. Mordechai said, Mordechai and Esther, you have to hear the Megillah by day. And later on, the Nevi'im, not Nevi'im, the Goinim, and later said that you have to read the Megillah again by night. If someone can only hear the Megillah once, which one should they choose? To hear it by day or hear it by night?
I think you said it should by day, right?
So it said if they know for a fact they're only going to hear one, they should do it by day. Well, others people say that you should do it by night and rely on Hashem that He'll find you a way to hear it by day also.
Oh, wait a minute. In other words, actually, as far as the second opinion, it could be actually, that the rule is actually not to pass up on a mitzvah. So if you wait until the daytime, you're then going to be actually passing up a mitzvah, even though the daytime is the Iker. Now,
are you familiar with the first parak in Mesechta Brachos? We say this during the Haggadah. Says Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, how do I know you have to mention Yitzias and Mitzrayim by night? It says, Kol Yemei Chayecha, all the days of your life. If we would say Yom, day, then you would know you have to say it by day. What's Yemei? The days. It means including the nights as well. At times, the word Yomim means nights. So in the Megillah, where it says, by Yomim Ha'ela, and these days are remembered, when it says Yomim, let it include nights. Why do we have to bring a proof from Bishua ben Levi? You read the Megillah by night. Let it say, Vayamim, and these days are to remember these days, including the nights like you have over there. Furthermore, when it comes to the mitzvah of Sukkah, it says, Sukkos Teishu Shivas Yamim. You should sit in the Sukkah for 7 days. Days comes to include the nights that you have to eat in the Sukkah, not just by day, you have to eat in the Sukkah by night. So why didn't we say the word yamim, days, here by the Megillah, comes to include the nights as well? So he answers that in general, yamim means only daytimes. If you have what's called a Gzeder Shava, a separate reason, you can make it to include nights. Over here, the words of the pasuk are Yamim Ha'ela Niskarim V'Nasim. These days are remembered and they're done. V'Nasim, they're done. The mitzvahs of Purim can only be done by day. The mitzvahs of giving Shalach Manas can only be done by day. The mitzvah of Matanas of Yonim, gifts to the poor, can only be done by day. The mitzvah of Mishteh, of a feast, can only be done by day. So the Yamim, the days, have to be similar to the Nasim, to the next words, the actions. And just like all the actions of Purim can only be done by day, so Yamim means only days. And therefore we need to Rabbi Shua ben Levi to explain to us why we need to read the Megillah at night from a separate pasuk. It says, L'mani zamerecha chava v'lo yidayim, v'l'kai ekra yomim v'lo yisayna v'lo yidum yali. So we have to read the Megillah again by night.
So in other words, actually, the obligation to read actually the Megillah also at nighttime actually was already in actually the days of the Gemara actually.
It's mentioned by Rabbi Shua ben Levi, correct? Was from the later Tanoim.
So that's it was already established as a takana by the rabbis, but originally she was only by day, right?
Correct. Let me ask you a theoretical question, a riddle. If you have a ger, a convert, who converts, and the Bezdin converted him at, let's say it was this morning, at 6 a.m. Okay, so now suddenly he has an obligation to do all the mitzvahs of the Torah. So now today he has to, for the first time in his life, he has a mitzvah to put on tefillin, he has a mitzvah to do everything. Should he say Kriya Shema at night? Should he daven Ma'ir from the night before? Because it's after Alois HaShachar, but before Netzachama, after the starting getting light, but before sunrise. And we said one should say Shema if they did not say it by night. So should he say Shema now?
When he went to the mikveh in the morning?
He went to the mikveh in the morning, right? Before 7:14 a.m.
But before, well, it was still.
Well, but so it was just like, beginning of the morning, like a slide we brought yesterday where, it's just starting to get light.
Actually, you have similar questions as far as actually when everybody was at Har Sinai. As issue, what happens, all of a sudden now is a different issue points. So here's actually one for even nowadays.
So, but such a person, they were never a ger niskayer, a convert. He never had the obligation to say Shema at night. He just like he's born right now. He never had the obligation to say Shema at night. So he's not like making up the Shema at night because he has nothing to make up.
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Right. It's only a Jewish person who did not say Shema at night. They should still say in the morning. But in general, for most halachas, Alois HaShachar is considered to be considered day and not night. Kriya Shema is a separate time. So you could theoretically have a time where you could say Shema by night and Shema by day. But say both Shemas. If you did not say by night, and now you're saying Shema for the morning for Shacharis, theoretically. Yeah, it's already 11:33.
Tanya out there just Shema is the thing you can't make up.
Shema, and you can't make it up the next day. But if it's still before, the earliest talis and Shulam, Mishiyakar, and then you should still say it. Yeah. I think he says say it without a bracha. I think he says, but no, but I think he should still say it. Now let's do just the next line in the Gemara, although the next line is very short, it's only a few words. Let's get out of this. Get out of this escape. The next line is only the Gemara is 4 words, but there's a lot to discuss, so we can do that tomorrow. V'loy malin, you can only make a bris during the daytime. Tichsev, as it is written, Uvayoim hashmini yimol. And on the 8th day, he shall make a bris. Which means by Yoim, the bris has to be made by day from the Torah. The Ramah paskins that if one made a bris by night, they have not fulfilled their obligation, and you have to do a tafas dam bris, making a prick of blood by day. There are several aspects of a bris milah brought down in Kota Sichas. One of the aspects of bris milah, the 3 different aspects of bris milah, which all take place by a standard bris. However, there are times where only 1 or 2 of them take place, and we have to make sure all 3 of them actually take place. One aspect of bris milah is to make a bris, to the mitzvah of bris milah. Another aspect of bris milah is shloi liyos arel, not to have a foreskin. And the 3rd mitzvah is to cut off. Nichlos psar lasa, to cut off the foreskin. Differences would be, let's say a child was born already with a bris. So there's no foreskin that has to be cut off. Do they need a bris? So although they fulfilled one condition of not having a foreskin, but they still did not fulfill the other condition of making a bris and doing the mitzvah of bris. Let's say a child is born with 2 arlas, 2 foreskins, right? So if they cut one off and not the other one, so they fulfill the mitzvah of cutting off the arla, cutting off the foreskin, but they're not a mahul, they're not someone who has a bris, because they still have one.
What is it would be?
And they did a mitzvah of bris milah.
There's been arla on top of an arla.
Correct. An arla of an arla. Let's say, theoretically, don't know if I have any professional male in here.
But hard to rule out, actually, science is very, very hard to rule on a negative. You can actually give statistics. So like, let's say, as far as actually, but theoretically, I guess you can have a 90-year-old woman spontaneously giving birth, I guess.
Now, well, that's Sarah, I mean, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say a bris was done by night. So 2 other aspects of the bris were done. The baby is not a RL anymore, does not have the foreskin, and the act of milah was done. However, the mitzvah of milah, the mitzvah of bris milah was not done. And therefore they have to have another Ramah says again during the day. And we could discuss it more at length, and as well has a amazing story of the Rebbe about that. We'll do that tomorrow. Here, repeating it firsthand. Person's around, you could always ask him. Today, Rabbi, today is the Tes-Yud Kislev. It's a birthday and the yahrzeit of the Mitteler Rebbe, Rabbi Doiver Shnei Uri. Mitteler Rebbe is the 2nd Rebbe of Chabad Lubavitch. He is the only Rebbe which is actually no drawing or image of him whatsoever. No picture of him. His father, the Alter Rebbe, has a drawing of him that was made of him while he was in prison.
Very, very impressive. You see him concentrating, obviously, beyond this physical world.
Last year, I brought up a picture when I went to Russia, and there's a wax figure of the Alter Rebbe in the prison where the Alter Rebbe was.
Oh.
And so a picture of me next to that wax figure looks nothing like that drawing.
Now,
Alter Rebbe.
Now, it would be forbidden.
Mitteler Rebbe was never in jail in Petersburg. He was in Vitebsk.
Now, it would be forbidden for a Jew to make a wax figure of a person. I mean, at least if it would be actually.
It would be complete. If it would be complete, but if it's incomplete, if it's missing a finger or something, then it's fine.
So it's just a boss.
Yeah, then ask her a competent rabbinical authority.
Yeah.
No, but I'm asking when the one that you saw, you took a picture with.
Right.
What
So
was
that
it?
no, that was a complete
Complete thing.
right, but it wasn't made by Jewish people. It was made by the museum where that prison is.
And so, I mean, it wouldn't be considered idolatry for a boy to make it, right?
Correct. I think, yeah. I don't think it's considered to be full of Avodah Zarah.
If you're not worshiping it's spiritual.
Mitteler Rebbe, right? He was the oldest son of the Alter Rebbe. Here's some handwriting in the Mitteler Rebbe. This is in the Mitteler Rebbe. He passed away at the age of 54. Same age the Alter Rebbe was imprisoned. When Mitteler Rebbe was imprisoned, he said, of course, it was because there was a decree above in heaven how much Chassidus the Mitteler Rebbe spread. Now, Mitteler Rebbe, he wrote and wrote very, very much. Svarim of Chassidus are very much beriboy a lot, and as well, there's also depth called Rechoivas Hanar, the width of the river. The Alter Rebbe is called the Chachma, the first level, the highest sfira of Chassidus. Chachma is very short to the point. The Alter Rebbe's Mamarim were extremely short and brief. Mitteler Rebbe's are very, very long. And he has, throughout the Mitteler Rebbe's Chassidus, many times the word vidal. Vidal means, and a word is sufficient to the wise. I mean, figure out the rest on your own. For someone who is smart, could figure out the rest. Mitteler Rebbe writes in extreme depth. In Rabbina, the Shener Mitzvah Torah are. From a very young age already, the Mitteler Rebbe was spreading, talking Chassidus very much. He would do everything he could to be by the Alter Rebbe's Mamarim. He was sneaking when he was a little child. Alter Rebbe would say Mamarim for special Chassidim, or for some individually, for some of his children. The Mitteler Rebbe would always sneak in, trying to hear as much Chassidus as possible. And from a very young age, the Mitteler Rebbe was already writing Chassidus down at great depth. When the Mitteler Rebbe, he got married like most of the Rebbeim, he got married at age.
Let me guess, 14.
How did you guess? At age 14?
Because I know actually people were getting married really early.
Correct.
For one thing, it was done actually in order to make sure so that people would not be sitting, but it was also done because people were living shorter lives too.
Correct. People were more mature back then as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mitteler Rebbe, when it was time for him to get engaged, he said, they asked him, they offered him several different shidduchim, and he said, I want the one who will be fastest, be the quickest. I'll get married the soonest, because I want to already hear the Mamarim of the Alter Rebbe that he's going to say by the chasana. The Alter Rebbe had only daughters. He had 3 daughters, and he really wanted to have sons. And he asked the Maggid Mizrich a bracha to have sons. And the Maggid Mizrich said to him the pasuk in Tehillim, "B'mei yizaken na'ar es archai." How can you be merited to a nar, to a son, to a child, as archai with achnasas archim, to invite many guests? Achnasas archim, inviting guests, there's a way to be zeiche, to merit to have sons. He says you'll have a son, and you should call him with my name. The name of the Maggid Mizrich.
There's the Alter Rebbe, and that's the Maggid. Okay.
Right now, the Alter Rebbe's Maggid Mizrich passed away. The Maggid Mizrich passed away. Tes-Yud Kislev, in the 19th of Kislev, in the year Tavkuf Lamed Gimel, which would be 1773. And the Mitteler Rebbe was born Tes-Yud Kislev, maybe it was 1772, and he was born Tes-Yud Kislev almost a year later. In the next year, Tavkuf Lamed Daled, 1774. When the Mitteler Rebbe was very young, he wrote for himself 13 Mamarim on what it says, Kamifil Givim Sifta Derakia, famous Gemara, Mesechta Megillah, Shabbos, about the argument that was going on in the heavenly Beis Medrash, in the heavenly house of study. And he wrote 13 Mamarim on it. And the Mitteler Rebbe, one time when he was not in his house, when he came home, when he was still in the wagon, the Alter Rebbe sent a messenger that the Mitteler Rebbe should come to him right away and bring him all of his writings. And Mitteler Rebbe became very scared of his father. He didn't want his father to read his writings, Alter Rebbe, to read everything he wrote. But he had no choice. And he was not able to physically go off the wagon from great fright. The Alter Rebbe, he had to be helped off the wagon. He brought his writings to the Alter Rebbe. and he was standing in front of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe read through all of the writings of his son, the Mitteler Rebbe. And then the Alter Rebbe told him to come back in the evening. In the meantime, the Alter Rebbe told his Rebbetzin Sterna, to make a big seudah, make a big feast. We're having a special guest tonight, coming for supper, coming for dinner. During the night, the Mitteler Rebbe came and they sat and they ate a seudah together. The Alter Rebbe told his son, the Mitteler Rebbe, start barrel, say chassidus. And the Mitteler Rebbe says, Father, I can't speak in front of you. I'm too scared. So he poured him an entire cup of strong mashke. And he says drink the entire thing. And afterwards he says, now you have to say chassidus. And he says, Father, I'm too scared. I can't do it. So he made him drink an entire second cup of mashke. And then he lost his fright. And then he was able to say chassidus in front of his father, the Alter Rebbe. A short time later, the Alter Rebbe's Rebbetzin turns to the Alter Rebbe. He said, we're having a very prominent guest tonight. Who's the guest? And he says, your son, Mitteler Rebbe. He is the prominent guest. The Mitteler Rebbe's way of spreading chassidus, it irked the ire, you could say, of several of the colleagues of the Alter Rebbe, who were friends of the Alter Rebbe, who were Talmidim, students of the Maggid Mizrich. There was a chasana in Zlobin. It's called the Big Chasana. What was so great? Because Zlobin was not a town which had any famous tzaddikim living there. But at this wedding, a grandson of the Alter Rebbe got married with a granddaughter of Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, and both of the grandfathers were at this wedding. And many great stories happened at this meeting of the Alter Rebbe and Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, two great people. One of the things that the Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Berditchev asked the Alter Rebbe was about your son, Rebbe Doivber. He's irking a lot of anger and shemayim in heaven. This that he's spreading chassidus without any limitations.
They're saying at this wedding, the Mitteler Rebbe married actually the granddaughter.
No, one of the grandchildren of the Alter Rebbe.
Married,
I think was his child of the Mitteler Rebbe who married one of the grandchildren of Rebbe Levi Yitzchak Berditchev. And he says, why is your son spreading so many secrets of the Torah which you should not be spreading?
It was actually the British Rebbe who said that.
Right. So Alter Rebbe said that when he was born, when my son Mitteler Rebbe was born, I wanted to actually give him a name, Hamnuna. You know Rav Hamnuna Saba, the elder of Hamnuna. He's in the Gemara. We mentioned several times, and he mentioned Kabbalah very often. He had a son who's called the Yenuka, a child who was able to be a prophet. And his neshama came from the level of Rav Hamnuna Saba. And so I thought to give him a name Hamnuna, because he will reveal deeper secrets of the Torah. But my teacher, the Maggid Mizrich, already passed away, came to me and asked me to name after him, to name him Doivber. So I named him Doivber. But he's teaching him about how he was telling him that the level of the Mitteler Rebbe is something altogether unique. It says from the level of called Luchos Harishonos, the first Luchos, which are above the second Luchos, which is too great for this world to handle. At the Chasana, says that Rebbe Yitzchak Berditchev was listening to chassidus of the Mitteler Rebbe, and when the Mitteler Rebbe realized that the Rebbe Yitzchak Berditchev came into the room and is listening, he stopped. He said, "I respect Rebbe Yitzchak Berditchev. I can't speak." And he says, "I want to continue saying chassidus, to say it, because I'm enjoying this so much." But he says, on one condition, that you don't become too excited, as Rebbe Yitzchak Berditchev will become very excited. He says the night of Sukkot, he was not able to sleep. He was so excited to shake lulav and esrog. He would make kiddush. He was so excited to make kiddush that the becher would shake and half the wine would spill out during kiddush. And he says he cannot become too excited. And he agreed. And as soon as the Mitteler Rebbe was speaking, very shortly, Yitzchak Berditchev went totally, had such excitement that he grabbed a tray which was full of cups of water. And he grabbed it so strongly that the whole tray fell on the floor and all the cups of water broke.
It sounds like many stories about him.
And he says, you promise that you're not going to become too overly excited. And he says, what can I do when Mitteler Rebbe is saying chassidus and I see malachim are coming to hear chassidus and Mitteler Rebbe? What can I do?
Who said that?
The Rebbe Yitzchak Berditchev. The Mitteler Rebbe wrote many Sfarim of Chassidus for many different Chassidim. It says Imre Bina was written for a Chassid named Ksio Lepler. Another sefer called Bekeach Ivrim was written for another person who became Baal Tshuva, returned to Yiddishkeit. What? Sharei Oira is about Chanukah and Purim. Here, Pirush Amilas, many Sfarim. We have, of course, Shar Yichud V'Emunah. Right, Shar Yichud V'Emunah. There's many Maimarim, many Sfarim of the Mitteler Rebbe, very deep. Sfarim on Tshuva, Shari Tshuva. There's Derech Chaim. Alter Rebbe there's a story brought down, which I read many years ago, and only one time I saw an explanation from, I think the Rebbe, before he became Rebbe, said about the story. The Mitteler Rebbe and Alter Rebbe had a conversation. The Alter Rebbe said to the Mitteler Rebbe, I am greater than you because I have a son who's a Rebbe. And Mitteler Rebbe said to his father, I am greater than you because I have a father who is a Rebbe. Mm-hmm. And the explanation of the story is, because everything's, it seems like a very frivolous conversation, is that the Mitteler Rebbe, Alter Rebbe, his idea is Chachma, the father, the Av, and the son is Bina. Well, sometimes it's a wife, it's the mother, but the wife could be Bina as well. Bina comes from Chachma. Chachma is a dot. Bina is wide. Alter Rebbe, being the idea of Chachma, he appreciated the Mitteler Rebbe's idea of Bina. He says, and I'm greater than you because my son, Mitteler Rebbe is able to expand Chassidus in the width and the depth and the length of Chassidus, like you. And Mitteler Rebbe says, I am greater because my father is a Rebbe. Chachma is the Av, the father. He says, I am greater because I am able to take the idea of Chachma and to expand them. The Tanya is called Torah Shebiksav, the written Torah of Chassidus. Every single letter in Tanya is exact. Mitteler Rebbe expanded at great length. That Tzemach Tzedek one time said about him, my father-in-law, the Mitteler Rebbe, made from every vart a kvart. Every little bit he expanded, made it a kvart, a pail. The Mitteler Rebbe was not by the passing of his father. The Alter Rebbe, he was sent to a different city. The Mitteler Rebbe is the one who moved to Lubavitch. After they ran away from Napoleon with Alter Rebbe, so the Mitteler Rebbe settled in a different city for a short time, and then he moved to Lubavitch. During his time, the Jewish people in Russia were extremely poor, and there was many decrees against the Jewish people were instituted. One of them was a pale of settlement. Jews can only dwell in certain places, can only do certain jobs. At the end of his life, he had a decree of the Kantonistim to abduct Jewish boys, and they have to go to a mandatory army service for 25 years. And even say that's how he passed away. When he was in the city of Nezhin, a woman came screaming to Mitteler Rebbe, they have come and they stole my son. Mitteler Rebbe fainted and he became sick, and he passed away from that sickness. He put a lot of effort that the Jewish people should leave the large cities, move to the small towns in order to support themselves in the small towns. He established a shul in Hebron. It's called the Mitteler Rebbe Shul until today. During the time period of the Mitteler Rebbe, Chassidus Chabad expanded and became very established in a great way. The Mitteler Rebbe was able to write a tremendous amount. He was arrested several times. He was arrested not in the same type of way the Alter Rebbe was arrested. The Alter Rebbe was brought into a black wagon to Peterburg. When the Mitteler Rebbe was arrested, also on false charges, someone forged a document. A relative of Pinchas Reizes. Pinchas Reizes was a chassid of the Alter Rebbe, who was very close to the Alter Rebbe, who had no children, was very wealthy, and a relative of his who was not a chassid, he inherited all of his papers, and there was a collection made for the Mitteler Rebbe after the Napoleon Wars, and they raised 24,000 florins, I think it was a certain currency then, and he forged it and he wrote 124,000. And then he gave it in, and he said the Mitteler Rebbe is lying, stealing from the government. He's not reporting anything. He's trying to do lots of other stuff. And he was arrested, and he went twice free from jail on the day of Tes Kislev. Once in the year Tov Kuf Pei Zayin, once in the year Tov Kuf Pei Ches. So 1886 and 1887. Tes Kislev, he went free on the day of Yud Kislev. Tes Kislev, but he the next year he already passed away in Tes Kislev, and therefore this day never became a major holiday, a major Yom Tov. So we'll talk a little bit about the passing of the Mitteler Rebbe. Tomorrow is his day of his redemption. We'll talk a little bit about the redemption of the Mitteler Rebbe, his arrest and his going free. This is the place, the oil of the Mitteler Rebbe. It was destroyed, I think, by the Nazis, and a small matzeva was made, but Baruch Hashem, it was very renovated. No, it's a Mitteler Rebbe. I'm not sure. Someone is buried next to him. I'm not sure.
It looks like the thing's open on the top.
Right. That today it's redone entirely. Mitteler Rebbe's oil is completely repaired. Around the whole area, Reb Menachem Mendel Chaim of Nezhin is there. This is the inside. There's zeicha to be there. It's very special to be inside. They built a shul connected to the oil of the Mitteler Rebbe. They used to be there. They rebuilt it. It's a very beautiful shul till today. And this oil it's a shul connected to the oil. All the Rebbeim had a shul connected to them in Hadich and in Nezhin and Lubavitch.
And where is actually Lubavitch actually, which country now?
Is Nezhin? Nezhin is now in Ukraine.
And how about Lubavitch?
Lubavitch is in Russia.
Belarus.
Lubavitch is in Russia.
Not Belarus?
No.
It's
It's very close to Belarus. The border is very close. But this is Mitteler Rebbe's oil today. So that's the way it was, right at the end of the communist era. And this is the way today how it's redone and beautiful. We could say several anecdotes about the Mitteler Rebbe. He had many great chassidim. One of them is Reb Hillel Paritcher, one of the great chassidim of the Mitteler Rebbe. He himself was great enough to be a Rebbe.
And actually, did he become a Rebbe?
No, he was called Chol Hamoed because he got married before the age of bar mitzvah. He wore talis before he wore tefillin. When he got married, he was already a baki in Shas, Zayar Kabbalah, Rishonim Achronim Poskim, already before he was married.
He was halachically allowed to marry?
Who's this now?
Reb Hillel Paritcher.
Wait a minute, that's mean.
He was married before his bar mitzvah?
Yeah.
What is it? Did he have to get actually remarried? Actually, became bar mitzvah?
I don't think so.
It wasn't like he wasn't. That's according to the Torah. Was he married actually? Was before bar mitzvah? There's only been a rabbanan.
I don't know. I'm not sure. He's over the age of 12, and he knows halacha, so it could be different. He's muflas samach leish, close enough to being an adult. Then he met a great chassid of the Alter Rebbe named Reb Zalman Zezmer, and he was able to listening to a few Ma'amarim of Chassidus being reviewed by Reb Zalman Zezmer, and he asked him, "Where do you know this from?" And he says, "You have to travel to Lubavitch, the Mitteler Rebbe." And Hillel Paritcher heard the Alter Rebbe say a Maimer several times, but he was never a chassid of the Alter Rebbe. He was a chassid of the Mitteler Rebbe and onwards. And he decided he wants to travel to the Mitteler Rebbe in Lubavitch. He went home. He told his wife, "I would like to travel to the Mitteler Rebbe in Lubavitch." He was a chassid of Reb Mordechai Chernobyler. Mordechai Chernobyl, right, relative, and his father, Reb Nachum Chernobyler, great tzaddikim, and already from a young age, they looked at him as becoming one of the greatest Talmidim. The Chernobylers looked at him as one of the greatest people. But when he told his wife he wants to travel to Lubavitch, the Mitteler Rebbe, and his wife told her father, and her father ran and told the Mordechai of Chernobyl, and Mordechai of Chernobyl says, "Immediately call Reb Hillel to come to me right away." And Reb Hillel went to the Mordechai of Chernobyl, and he says, "Is it true that you want to leave me and go to the Mitteler Rebbe?" And he says, "Yes, what could I do? I have a burning desire to learn Chassidus Chabad." So the Mordechai said, "Should know that your neshama is connected to my neshama, and your father's neshama was connected to my father, Reb Nachum of Chernobyl. And therefore, you should know that if you disconnect yourself from me, you're disconnecting yourself from life. And therefore, you're not going to live long. And you're going to lay, he said, with a pupek aruf, which means with your belly button facing upwards. That means you're going to be, if you leave me, you're going to pass away and lay facing upwards. And Mitteler Rebbe says, whatever happens to me, I can't not go to Lubavitch. I must go to the Mitteler Rebbe. So Reb Mordechai of Chernobyl asked Mitteler Rebbe, his father-in-law and his family, make sure that he doesn't leave and that he stays and doesn't go to Lubavitch. Mitteler Rebbe didn't give up. He still wake up very early in the morning, go to shul and wait till 9 or 10 o'clock and be in shul till 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. Then he would teach several bachrim. And no one imagined that he was sneaking away in the middle of a winter night. But that's exactly what he did. One morning, he took a stalas and tefillin. He went to shul. But after davening, he left shul right away. And he went to the next city called Retzacha. And from there, he kept on walking. While it was still dark, he walked. He came to a city of bris. He asked people there, could I please borrow money from some people? People lend me money. And they gave him money. People knew who he was. They respected him. And from there, he was able to travel to Lubavitch. The entire way, he found the horse and buggy, and he knew that sooner or later his family is going to find out that he left. They're going to try running after him. So he told the wagon driver, hurry up, rush, go faster, faster. And they were going on a hill, and the entire wagon, when they're going so quickly, turned over. And the pillow was stuck underneath the wagon. And it took a while until the wagon driver was able to release the wagon, turn it back over, and it came to Lubavitch. When it came to Mitteler Rebbe, as soon as he walked in, Mitteler Rebbe told the Mitteler Rebbe, whoever, the story of Rechina ben Doisa, that his daughter by mistake one time bought vinegar instead of olive oil, and they had no money left to buy olive oil for Shabbos to light candles, and Rechina ben Doisa said, Hashem, who says oil could shine, can make vinegar shine, and the vinegar was able to light. He says, you come from the city of Chumtz, which is Chaimetz, vinegar, same words, and you will make the entire city shine. And Mitteler Rebbe says, but I'm scared of the curse from Reb Mordechai of Chernobyl. So Alter Rebbe told him, no need to be worried, because if he's a tzaddik and a good Jew, he can never do anything, he'll never be able to say anything bad about a person. And if not, you don't have to worry about his saying, what did he tell you you're going to do? What is going to happen to you? He says you're going to lay with a pupek aruf, meaning with your belly button facing upwards. Mitteler Rebbe told him it could happen sometimes in the winter that a wagon turns over and when you're laying on the ground on your back, and then you're already doing that. You're already facing upwards. And Mitteler Rebbe understood that now he does not have to be worried about Mitteler Rebbe, and he stayed connected to Mitteler Rebbe. And many Svarim Mitteler Rebbe have biurim, explanations from Mitteler Rebbe to explain Mamarim of the Mitteler Rebbe.
Hashem decided to fulfill the will of which were Mordechai of Chernobyl, but decided to do it
in the way of Chesed.
Indeed,
right. In a similar sense, there's a story. I mean, it's already after the time. Whoever would like to go could go. The story that Mitteler Rebbe told all Chassidim that he made very strict rules. How often you're allowed to come to Lubavitch? It was only once a year for one Yom Tiv. You could choose a Rosh Hashanah, a Yom Kippur, first days of Sukkot, last days of Sukkot. Yechidus was only once every 3 years. There was very strict rules that everyone had to keep in order to come to Lubavitch. He said we're going to send spies, and if somebody speaks during davening, they're not going to be allowed to come into Yechidus, private audiences. One of the things Mitteler Rebbe, one of the rules he made was that when traveling to Lubavitch, every single chassid has to stop by every single city they pass on the way, and to go to the shul there and review a maimer of Chassidus in public for everyone. And so it's a very big chassid of the Alter Rebbe and the Mitteler Rebbe, named Rabbi Yitzchak Moshe of the city of Yassi. Yassi, I think, is in Romania.
I think so.
And he came to the city of Apt, where there's a famous tzaddik called the Oiv Yisrael.
With my
Apt.
cousin?
Yes. right? It's that goes without saying. Ohev Yisrael up to the Abter Rav. He was the Rabbi Tversky. This is actually also a descendant of the Abter Rav, and he was actually he's called the Ohev Yisrael. He had tremendous Avas Yisrael, but he was very opposed to the Mitteler Rebbe's way and Alter Rebbe's way of spreading Chassidus, without limitations. A very great tzaddik, a talmid of the Maggid Mizrich. And Rabbi Moshe of Yassi came to the shul and he asked, could he repeat Chassidus in the shul? And the people in the shul said yes. And he started reviewing Chassidus out loud, a maimer of the Mitteler Rebbe. And then the Abder Rav walks into the shul. And he got extremely angry, extremely upset. And he says, Hagam lichbosh malka imi babayis, quoting the words of Achashverosh. You're trying to Haman, you're trying to subdue my queen Esther here in the house. He says, on my own shul, you're going to Chazar to review Chassidus for everyone. And he came extremely upset and he gave him a curse. You're not going to outlive the year. Yitzchak Moshe of Yassi was extremely nervous. You don't take the words of a tzaddik like that lightly. And he ran straight back to Lubavitch and he says, I need immediate yichidus with the Mitteler Rebbe. And of course, he would not get, they wouldn't give him yichidus because he just had one. And it's only every 3 years you can have a yichidus. And he said, no, this is literally life and death. And he told him the story. And eventually he had a yichidus in the Mitteler Rebbe. And the Mitteler Rebbe listened to him and he says, tell me, did you know that it was his shul? After Rav's shul and go there on purpose? He says, no, I didn't even know it was his shul. He says, did you answer anything back to the Abder Rav? He says, no, I didn't answer a thing back to him. I didn't say a word to him. So Mitteler Rebbe leaned on his arm for a long time. And then he says, you're going to outlive this year. You're going to outlive the year. You're not going to die this year. But then Moshe Yassi is thinking to himself, but that's only 1 year. What about next year? Mitteler Rebbe looked up and Mitteler Rebbe said, you're going to outlive him also, the Abder Rav. And he thought to himself, but he's already an older person. And Mitteler Rebbe looked up and he said, you're going to outlive his children as well. And then Mitteler Rebbe put his arm down and he says, you're going to outlive his grandchildren as well. He lived a very long life, close to, I think, over 100 years old. It says Mitteler Rebbe, if you would cut his finger, blood would not come out, rather Chassidus would come out. So when he was arrested, the Dr. Heibenthal said that for his own health, he has to say Chassidus to 50 Chassidim twice a week. And you have to give him a pen and paper to constantly write words of Chassidus. His entire being was saying words of Chassidus. And there's many stories about the extent of how much Chassidus and Mitteler Rebbe would say, or how much Chassidus would be important to him. Just one thing, the day of his passing, says the day he passed away, he was getting consistently weaker. The Mitteler Rebbe says the Alter Rebbe was arrested at 54 years old. And he was given a choice, Yisurim or Misa, will he have suffering or will he pass away? And he says he chose Yisurim, sufferings. And therefore, for 53 days, Alter Rebbe had tremendous suffering in prison. But then he went free, and Alter Rebbe, for another 14 years, spread Chassidus with no limitations. The Mitteler Rebbe says, it seems like he left me the only choice. The age of 54 is when the Mitteler Rebbe passed away. In addition, says the Mitteler Rebbe, he hinted many different hints on that he's going to pass away that day, that year. When the Mitteler Rebbe, the day he passed away, he was saying, he was in the city of Nezhin, he was getting consistently weaker. He traveled to his father to Hadish, the Alter Rebbe's oil, and on the way back traveling to Lubavitch, he became sick in the city of Nezhin, and until he passed away. But when he passed away, Chassidim were standing around trying to wake up the, Rebbe, don't scare us, Rebbe, please don't leave us. Rebbe, what do you say? And Mitteler Rebbe opened his eyes, and Mitteler Rebbe says, I'm hearing in heaven, they're saying, what's such a great neshama doing in such a lowly world? And He says, I want to start saying Chassidus for all the Chassidim. And the Mitteler Rebbe asked for Shabbos garments. He put on his Shabbos garments. He started saying a Maimer of Chassidus, and as he's saying, he was getting stronger and stronger. And every few minutes, the Mitteler Rebbe would ask, "Is it Alois HaShachar yet? Remember Alois HaShachar? Is it 5:43 yet? Has the sun risen yet?" And he said, "Not yet, not yet." As soon as it came Alois HaShachar, the Mitteler Rebbe was saying a pasuk, the word "Imcha Mekor Chayim." With you, Hashem is the source of life, and he passed away as he said the word Chayim. And it says since the times of the Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai, no one passed away saying the word Chayim. Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai passed away when he was saying the words, "V'atem advekim Hashem Elokim Chayim." You are connected to Hashem Chayim, alive, and he passed away exactly at that moment. He said the word Chayim. It says you go straight into the world to come. And it says since the passing of Rishon Bar Yochai, there has not been such a passing like the passing of the Mitteler Rebbe. And so today is definitely a day we should try learning some of the Torah of the Mitteler Rebbe. The general who arrested the Mitteler Rebbe, he was a governor. He was the Tsar had an illegitimate son. His name was Chanovsky, and he didn't want him around in Petersburg, in the main city, so he sent him to be the governor in the area of Vitebsk, which included Lubavitch, and he was the one who kept on going out of his way, trying to find ways to have the Mitteler Rebbe arrested and listening to any bit of slander you could hear about the Mitteler Rebbe. So the Mitteler Rebbe said about the Chanovsky to son-in-law Tzemach Tzedek, he is a klipa of Amalek. And if I would have a Yeshua ben Nun, we would be able to get rid of him as well. So, and then the story is Chanovsky, he actually died a very bitter death, a very hard death. And so today's a special day. It's the day of the Mitteler Rebbe's birth and the day of his passing. And Mele, everyone should do what we can to do exactly what the Mitteler Rebbe did, is spread Chassidus with no end. Mitteler Rebbe one time said that when I was spreading Chassidus so much, the Samach Mem, the Satan, came to me and told me that if you don't stop what you're doing with your spread of Chassidus all over and sending shluchim and people over to spread Chassidus, I'm going to stop whatever I'm doing and focus all my attention only on you. And Mitteler Rebbe says that I actually listened to him. I cut back, whatever that means. But then the Mitteler Rebbe had a daughter who passed away, and recently in the 90s, they found her gravestone, her name, and her name is Esther Miriam in Lubavitch. She passed away during the life of the Mitteler Rebbe. He actually had two daughters named Esther, passed away during his life. And he says once his daughter passed away, he says once the Samach Mem broke his side of the deal, and his daughter passed away, now I can break my side of the deal, and now we're going to spread Chassidus without any limitations. So all the hard fights were already fought, and now it's only the Rechei V'Sanar time to spread Chassidus everywhere, and we should have only simchas